Blueface and Chrisean go to church. For some reason, this is a very controversial and debatable topic, and I want to chime in as to what I think is important to point out why it's actually a good thing for her to go to church, and as opposed to sitting here and downplaying it and ridiculing. We should be grateful that she's finding her way back to God. Like, you never know how God works. So let's talk. While I have your attention, don't forget to like and subscribe and leave comments to this page. Or any support helps, and we're trying to reach a goal and get this relatable form of Christian discussion to the world. So whatever you could do to support, it means a lot. Thank you very much for it. So I'm sitting here browsing my internet, my Twitter feed, or X feed. I don't know what they call it nowadays. I'm browsing it and I'm going through it, and I see a video of Chrisean at church. I saw one a couple of weeks ago when she I guess attended the service, and then she went up to sow a seed into the church, which is amazing, which is a great thing. And I'm a real big proponent of sowing, of giving, and these principles and what God can do through that. So that initial video was kind of received with some resistance as well, like, oh, money, why she's giving money, Chrisean is crazy, why is she in church, she's a hot mess, blah 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 blah. I think anyone finding their way back to God, no matter how they find their way and what state they are, is always an opportunity. So I can't sit here and get upset at her. I can't get upset at the pastor for receiving her. What should he have done? Should he have sat there and said, "Hey, I don't want you here. Get out of my church. You're a sinner." But then where else should she go? So then that was one instance. Also, there's an instance where literally, I think days after giving birth to Chrisean Jr., she decides to, I'm assuming, go to church for her child's christening. It looked like a christening. I know she wanted to present. I don't know. But it looked like a christening where the family and friends were there. Blueface was there. And they presented the child to the church and to the Lord. And before I go on, this is, something that we often criticize. We say why. Again, why did the pastor allow this? What should he have done? Should he be like, "No, you heathen, get you and your child out of here"? That's not Christ-like. Christ welcomes all. Christ loves all. We don't want you to stay in your mess. But as believers, we should be less judgmental and more welcoming. So I saw these two events, these two church-related events. And mind you, I have personally muted the Blueface Chrisean relationship off of most of my social media. I just couldn't watch it anymore. It was so negative and toxic, and you watch it get caught in a spiral. It was just too much for me. So I personally, I don't know how I got this on my feed, on my timeline, but I personally muted them, and I made a conscious decision outside of these two instances of not watching anything related to this couple, because again, it's so negative. And to watch this young lady to go through that and experience what she's experienced, and the abuse and the different type of things that she does to him and he does to her and people around him, to their families, I did not want to consume that stuff. I didn't want to watch it. It was too negative. It was too toxic for me. So I may not be as deep into their relationship as many of you are. I may not be as focused into that stuff as many of you are, but I am one that really is sitting here and saying, me as a pastor, when it comes to church, it kind of hit me a little different to see why she's there and the reactions that she's getting. And I think first and foremost, it's a good thing. It's a great thing. It's a great thing to see her understand the value of church and, in essence, the value of God. Those of you who are being so critical about Chrisean and going to church, you are the same ones that go to church every December 31st and every Easter. So if you expect grace and understanding for you doing that, then you should also expect a level of grace for Chrisean. If you expect folks to understand and be forgiving and be receptive, why can't folks be receptive to her? Let's not operate in a double standard. The church is not for the perfect. It's not for those that are error-free and sin-free and have everything figured out. The church is for those who struggle. It's like you're sick and folks are saying you shouldn't go to the hospital. Where else should I go? Where else should I go than to the place that is created to help me get better? So I think it's great to see. It's an amazing thing to see that she realized the importance of faith and importance of God. Because the church, though it may have its flaws, it is still a bride of Christ. It still represents Christ on the earth. So our job is to keep our doors open for anyone to come. So we can't sit here and be like, oh, she can't come, or, it's a dope thing. Like I think it's amazing to see her be able to come back to the house of God. Like I don't see why any controversy, I don't see why any issue or any feedback with that. I know we're in a time when the last days where the church is getting a bad rap and folks are downplaying the need of going to church, but this is really a good thing and a dope thing. It's also sad because it shows she had like that foundation. Again, I don't know if it was the first time going to church, because again, I personally don't really follow them as closely as I did in the past, because I found it very, very toxic and very, very negative. But I also like to know if this is she goes to church every Sunday, and it's just that these moments were highlighted. Like, is she normally a church goer? Like, I don't know, but obviously she has that foundation of church, of faith, but yet the enemy has drawn her astray. And this is the story of so many folks. Forget the celebrity status. That's a soul, right? Celebrity, million followers or not, that is a soul. And to see a person start in the faith, have that foundation of the faith, because she had to have the foundation for her to go back, right? To have that foundation of the faith and have the enemy just yank her out of the will of God, out of the house of God, is so sad. And again, it happens so often, on a micro scale, a smaller scale, where people you probably grew up with, people that you knew are Chrisean, are sitting here that they started in church, started the right way, served God, youth choir, youth group, praise and worship team, and now are out in the world. My prayer is that people just don't visit the house of God, but they shall remain in the house of God. That people just don't think, because there's nothing you can do to make God to stop loving you. As crazy as that may sound to you right now, there's nothing you can do to make God stop loving you. And because God loves you, you are always welcome back in the house of God. And the reason why sometimes people don't feel they can come or don't want to come is not because of God, it's because of the people. And the enemy puts things in their minds as to why they shouldn't come. Oh, you sin too much. Everybody knows your business. You don't have anything to wear. That's the most common excuse. But you are always welcome to the house of God. The thing I love about Chrisean is the fact that she came as she was. She did not hide anything. She did not try to come with a dress on that first time. She came how she was. She went up there. She said she heard the voice of God, and she was able to sow a seed into the church, and she was obedient to the voice of God. where she knew the principles of giving, of sowing. So that tells you she is someone that has the foundation of the faith that has been led astray, right? Many of you know people who are just like her. Again, in your families, in your schools, in your church that you started off in youth group with, and you haven't seen them in a while, so you know people like that. You know what I mean? So why are we judging? Like, that is the most painful thing to see, as opposed to people, church people, non-church people celebrating that what she's doing. You sitting here criticizing and bring her down. And fast forward weeks, months later, after she has a child, the first place that she goes is to church to present her child to God, to cover her child in prayer. So she understands. She, forget the tattoos, forget the cursing, forget the tooth, forget all that stuff. She is a soul. And I look at her as a soul that loves God, that makes some bad decisions, that could have a soul tie upon her, that may have some undealt with trauma that she's probably dealing with, that's manifesting in her behavior. And it's not to make excuses, it's not to justify what she's doing, but let's call a spade a spade. She's a soul, a child of God that has been led astray. For whatever reason, she has been led astray. So I'm sitting here watching, and I'm like, yo, this is, I just see her go and go to church that one day, and then come in with her family all dressed in white to present her child, to pray over a child. She has the foundation, but it's just a lot of different obstacles along her way. So should she be? Heck yeah, she should be in church. Why not? Because deep down inside, though our struggles are not public, we go through things in the same way. But yet we sit here and we allow ourselves to come to the house of God. We sometimes go to we go to church right after going to the club. We watch that live stream right after getting high. Are you disqualified from coming to the house of God? No. But I also want to make sure that it's not a drug for her. Because a lot of times church has become a drug, where as opposed to fixing our issues, as opposed to getting help to get better and repenting, we visit. We come back, hey, I'm going to sow a seed. Hey, I've been to church today. Hey, I prayed over my child. So it's not only important to visit and to stop by. It's to make sure we dwell in the house of God. It's not only important, parents, to present your kid and never go to church again, or to present your child and pray over your child of God, but don't ever model Christ-like behavior. That stuff doesn't matter if your life is not right. Like, especially kids nowadays don't care what you say. They don't care who you are on Sunday. They care what you do. They mimic your actions. So why are we going to sit there and think it's okay to come every Sunday, or come, in her instance, once or twice a year, to come into a church and not follow and be disciples of Christ? Because your actions can outweigh any prayer. There are children who were not christened. However, their parents modeled Christ-like behavior, who are now adults and who are now teenagers, who are following the words and behavior of Christ. Why? Because not the parents did not think a one-day ceremony is enough, but they made sure that their lives were right, and they modeled good behavior before their kids. I've seen so many times people come in and say, hey, Pastor Ron, I want to christen my child, and I want my child to be christened. And that happens. And then, one thing I always encourage, like, you have to give them an opportunity and model your life after the word of God. And not only just being a disciple of Christ, but your actions, your behavior, when it comes to education, when it comes to finances, when it comes to how you deal with one another. These things matter. These things are important. So us sitting here and going through a religious ceremony is not enough. there needs to be a level of behavior that's mimicked and mocked. What's your life like? I'm not downplaying religious ceremonies. I'm not downplaying christenings and baptisms and coming to church. I'm definitely not downplaying that. But I'm also saying church should be a complement, not a supplement. Church should be a complement, not a supplement. Meaning that the main thing is having a life right before God. And because of that, you go to church, you take part in sacraments and different practices, you take part in a community of believers. That's a complement to a life submitted to God, right? Some folks think I could just do what I want throughout the week, but then if I go to church on Sunday, that's all that matters. No, you got to make sure that the main thing is having your life. Church is important, but it's a small part. 2 hours every week does not outweigh the rest of the time that you spent, that you're supposed to spend. The 166 hours, right? I'm at 24 times 7 is 168. Yep. Minus 2, 166. So the other 166 hours that you live are more important than the 2 hours you spend in church on Sunday. And we think the 2 hours could fix the 166. Right? So I believe in going to church. I believe in going through all this stuff. I believe in following the principles of God, but I also believe that your life must be right. It's not just about who you are on Sunday. It's more important about who you are on Monday. Who you are with your friends and your family. How you treat your kids. How you treat your parents. So that's the key. So with Chrisean and Blueface, that's definitely an unhealthy relationship. That's the epitome of a toxic relationship. And that's why I kind of like fell back and I really watched them too much. But I feel like, at least with Chrisean, you see some hope that she may be slowly coming back to the house of God. Since then, there's been different videos of her in Walmart with her child, and the child's neck is pretty much snapped back, hanging back in a little, how you call that, John? The little carrier Johns in Walmart. So you see kind of stuff like that as well, which is a big controversy and it's sad. And, I'm not one to ever comment on people raising their kids because it's their children. I give advice, I give prayer, I give guidance, but I never critique parents because I feel most parents are doing the best they can. It may fall short, but I think they have good intentions and just sometimes poor guidance and poor examples in their lives. So, and ultimately, the consequences in your hand. If you want to sit there and not take your kid to school, then you got to deal with that consequence. Not me, So I don't ever want to criticize or someone's parenting, talk bad about somebody's parenting. But with that being said, that's the new controversy with her being a mom and in Walmart and her child not properly fastened in or secured in a carrier. But at the end of the day, I think the good thing is let's look at things, the glass half full, not half empty. Yes, she may not be perfect. Yes, she may not have things all together, but maybe this can be an opportunity for her to come back to God, because the foundation is there. It's just the house is fallen, and the prayer is that she rebuilds her house on the right foundation, and not the foundation of hurt and pain and trauma and anger and being bitter. And maybe having a child, though people were like, oh my God, they should not have children, blah, 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 blah. It may be a good thing. Maybe that's what God uses to get them together, get them right, to get them responsible. I don't know. But the one thing I do know, it's a good thing. And I just wanted to hop on here because so many folks were complaining about how did they let her go into church? The church is about to burn down because she went to church. Like, no, how could they present her child and let them? Aren't they not married? Listen, let's stop being so judgmental and churchy. As a pastor, I've heard that so many times. I've had people say, well, I want to present my child, but me and the dad aren't married. I'm like, okay, there's no ask. Like, there's still a child that you want to present to God. Every child comes from God. So if you feel the urge to present your son or daughter, it's okay. It shouldn't be, oh, you can't present your child because your child was born out of wedlock. No. Why should we? Why should we visit that onto the child? The child is innocent, and the mom and or dad feel it's important to present their child to God. Yes, that's right. There's no protocol. There's nothing in the scripture that says only if you're married you're allowed to present your kid before God. So the child that's born out of wedlock and in wedlock. So the child that's born in is more important. It's more significant. Has more rights. Why? Because their parents are married and the other ones were not. That's stupid. Stop with these man-made judgments and rules. That's not corny. Oh, she should not have been allowed to present her child. So I can't pray for a child because their parents aren't married. How do you sound? Like, are you dumb? Like, you sound crazy. God loves us all. I'm not perfect, and I know you're not perfect. So let's stop judging and cover her with love. Pray. Honestly, after seeing that Walmart video, one of the things that I felt the need to was to pray for her child, Chrisean Jr. Because it's tough. Growing up in social media, growing up with hearing and seeing folks talk about their parents, and that stuff is tough, man. You don't want to hear that. And then all the drama surrounding the baby. Growing up, when they get older, they're gonna see that. They're gonna hear that. It's gonna affect them. So let's pray that these seeds don't bear fruit. That despite that, they could have long and productive and purpose-filled, God-fearing lives. So she did the right thing, and y'all was sitting in the comments talking about people. She shouldn't have gone to church and want to criticize people. Y'all crazy, man. Y'all gotta be careful, because that same judgment gonna fall upon yourselves. Have grace and mercy for her. I'm excited. I pray. I pray it's the beginning. I know it's a process. I don't think it's gonna happen overnight, but I pray gradually that she could just eventually find a way. Like, I would love to talk to her and pray with her and counsel her and encourage her. I think she might need encouragement. She needs folks around who love God. That's going to encourage her. Hey, get up. Come on, let's go to church on Sunday. Let's watch. Let us watch RCOG online. Seriously, like that. Those are things that's what she needs right now more than anything. She has enough negativity. It's hard to be positive in a negative environment. So instead of criticizing them, Blueface, Chrisean Jr., pray for them. You're so busy talking, talk to God about them. Your prayers can get to wherever they're at. Your prayers could do a lot more than gossip and Twitter fingers could. So I don't know if you agree. Tell me what you think. Leave a comment. Hit me up. Am I being too lenient? Am I being too understanding? Am I being too soft? But I think we gotta be more loving and less judgmental, more welcoming to people from all backgrounds. Because God has a plan for everybody's life. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you. God bless you. Peace.